And good evening and good morning, gorgeous people of the world.
Or good day.
Frightfully good. And today is going to be a frightfully good show.
And the internet is not going to crash. We're going to have no issues whatsoever. And it's just going to go really well, isn't it?
It's going to go super fantastically. So please send us good vibes, because last time we were on, it was utter chaos. Because we're dealing with fairies, and this is what fairies do. People think that fairies are these gorgeous little creatures that only appear on Disney movies and they're all super fine. But actually, fairies bring chaos with them, and we're doing our ABC of Paranormal Strangeness today, take 2 on fairies.
You know, it got so bad the last episode. We had to bail. We had to just get out because people couldn't hear us, and it kept dropping in and out. I killed my big desktop computer, then I killed my laptop, and we just, in the end, we went, okay, we're out. And I ended up having to delete the whole thing because whilst I was doing it, a very sensitive document happened to pop up. And I went, oh God, I've got to get rid of all of it now. Hey, yeah, happy first day of summer to you guys. Not so much over here.
No, where are we, Anne?
Now, you probably noticed we're not in our usual set. So we've got the lovely, glorious red velvet carpet curtains, whatever they are, behind us. Today, we are actually up in Lura, the Blue Mountains, New South Wales. And this is one of the few areas in Australia that it snows occasionally.
Snowed last week, so we're actually in the middle. We're in the middle of 2 fabulous events. One which we found out yesterday we're too early for. Now, next week apparently we have a famous person coming up to the Blue Mountains. Thor himself. Thor is going to be in the Blue Mountains making another movie. We're missing it. Which is very, very sad.
Oh, we've got this is Mohammed Cade watching from Sheffield, UK. Welcome. What time is it over there? Hi, Carol. We've got CA. Is that California? So yes, we gave ourselves a little bit of a holiday because we've been going so flat chat, and we were so stressed with all these computers and things that were breaking down that we thought we just need to go and chill for a little bit so that I can stop breaking computers. I'm just going to pop this up onto full screen, Renata, so that you can see the comments. Okay, Worldwide Paranormal live stream here in the UK. Thank you. And yes, Courtney, we have the Fear Fest for the Paranormal United Networks coming up very, very soon. So make sure you get your tickets for that. Let us know where you're all from. Hi, Charmaine. You're a regular from the Gosnells in Western Australia. Oh, Mohammed, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. Eek. Thank you for watching. And you're in the land of the fairies over there.
Absolutely.
And we've got New Hampshire, Swansea, UK, Wales. We're meant to be coming to Wales next July with Brian Cano, if it's still all, if we can get out of the country.
Fingers crossed.
Our government doesn't trust us, and us personally. And oh, look, we would be at Fear Fest. If we had our druthers, we would be there.
We literally cannot get out of the country at the moment. Everyone in Australia is locked down, and Australia has been very, very tight with its restrictions. And that is why we've had so few people actually suffering from COVID. We have an outbreak of 2, and whole townships get closed down.
Or states sometimes.
States get closed down, and everyone goes into super panic mode and tries to find out where it all comes from, and everything is sorted. So we have QR codes when we enter into all stores and shops. If we're going to go in and have a coffee somewhere, we need to make sure that we have registered on the QR code, and that just makes it really, really simple for everyone to be reached. And some of these new strains of COVID are really, really bad.
They're very contagious.
Yes, we actually, just a funny side story. It's not a funny side story. It's a really amazing side story. The last person who was actually the spreader of a very virulent strain was caught on CCTV in a supercentre.
Yeah, and we're all waiting for it to see what they did wrong so we can victimise them, And how was it?
Oh, they just walked past someone, and apparently this particular strain
They weren't
of COVID
coughing or sneezing or anything.
was in the air, and someone walked
past
past them and caught it. Holy cow. So there you go.
All right. So who's seen our latest True Hauntings podcast? Anyone seen that one?
Heard?
I haven't slept.
You can't see it. You've got to hear it.
I haven't slept for 2 nights because I worry about my snoring. Normally she says I've got my earplugs and I feel relieved and I sleep. We think we've worked out this is what causes me not to sleep. And as soon as I hear myself go, I wake myself up and I'll lay there and my eyes shut going, I have to sleep but I can't snore. I can't snore. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. I can't sleep. Can't snore. So I do this all night. Anyway.
And as I say to her, World War III could be going on. I will not wake up. So there you go.
So I am Anne Rekovich from Oz Paratech, Australia's largest online paranormal equipment store.
And I am Renata Daniel from Newcastle Ghost Tours.
Multi-award winning
ghost tour business here in Newcastle, Australia. Well, not right here, but in Newcastle, Australia, which I've been running now. This is my 12th year that I'm going into it.
All right, so shall we get on with today's topic?
Yes. So we are starting this whole season of the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness.
Okay, wish us luck, everyone. This is where it all went to poo last week.
Look, we've run away as far as we can run away to make this work. We're about 3 hours out of Newcastle. And we are hoping desperately that...
I should be able to get that to go. Not yet. Present. Here we go. Present.
Okay, so let us know whether you're seeing that slide, which you should be. The story of fairies, which is part of what we are doing or presenting on the Paranormal United Network, which is the ABC of Paranormal Strangeness.
Yep,
and we are up to the letter F. And we decided to do fairies this time as an interesting subject. And I have to say personally that I really didn't do a lot of research prior to this on fairies. It was something that was there, but nothing really that sort of captured my imagination. But I have to say that after doing the research on this particular episode, I'm a little bit more fascinated with the whole fairies thing.
And I remember when we did our interview with Tonya and
Joey,
Medea, that they were talking about their fairies that they have in their backyard and they leave offerings out for them. And I was fascinated by that. Becca loved it, and she loved about the ravens. I liked the last podcast when Renata mentioned the 3 queens and just lost it. Still trying to work out what went down there.
You must listen to the last one that we did, especially those gorgeous people from the UK that are joining us. The last one that we did was all about the Tower of London. And it was, supremely gorgeous, supremely fantastic.
So are we ready to go on?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Look at this, it's working! Yay!
So for anyone who isn't or doesn't know much about the fairy realm, this is something that seems to be very much a cultural thing. And you may be asking, why are we talking about fairies when it comes to the paranormal or the supernatural? Well, they are part of the supernatural world. So a fairy or a fae depending on how it is spelled, is a type of mythical being or legendary creature found in the folklore of multiple European cultures, including Celtic, Slavic, German, English, and French. It is a form of spirit, often described as metaphysical, supernatural, or preternatural. So many explanations have been given for a belief in fairies. Some say that they are like ghosts, spirits of the dead, or were fallen angels, neither bad enough for hell nor good enough for heaven. The oldest fairies on record in England were first described by the historian Gervase of Tilbury in the 13th century. Now, I've been studying my own background over the last few years, and I am from the Slavic nations, and I had no idea that fairies were so much a part of my own culture.
Oh,
so
really?
I should learn more and try and find out more about them, because certainly people have used fairies for different nefarious reasons over the years, but they've also used them as or become connected to them for good luck and goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
So they can be very much protectors of homes. I know that there are some countries in the world, especially the Icelandic countries, that will go as far as building roads and things around where they believe fairy glens are, or where fairies live. And they have actually put into local legislation laws with regard to how those particular sites are treated.
Do we get on to the Irish ones?
Maybe not so much. This is
okay.
sort of a real
Well, I'll tell my Irish story now.
Yep.
So the first time I went to Ireland was with Dave Schrader and a busload of crazy Americans. We love our crazy Americans. And we were travelling along a lot of the highways with the big bus, and they were saying that there was one part of that road that they built a roundabout into, and that they didn't need a roundabout to be there, but it was because there was a fairy tree there, and they had to go around the fairy tree. So the weird thing is, you talk to the Irish and they'll say, oh no, we don't believe in the fairies and the leprechauns and all that sort of stuff. It's a lot of nonsense. But then they build their roads around the fairy trees because they don't want to anger them.
Yes. And that leads me to a great YouTube clip that I found, which we haven't posted or added into this, but it is certainly there. And it is of an interview with a farmer, like a third or fourth generation farmer. And it is either in Ireland or England. I can't remember at this point in time. And he was giving an interview about his association with the fairies on his land. And he said that his father would put the animals out to pasture, but there were certain trees there that were not to be touched because they belonged to the fairies.
Is it hawthorn? Is that the one?
I can't remember. Maybe those beautiful people from the UK might give us a clue here. I did do this a few weeks ago.
Yes,
it was supposed to be presented last week.
We had notes and everything. We left the notes at home. Yeah. I've left my frightfully good naughty cards at home. So we're here on holidays doing our best as usual. Hi Stephen, how are you?
But there are specific trees that the fairies love and live in, and long story short, the whole thing about this particular live that was done with this farmer was that, you know, generationally they have left these trees on these grazing sites, even though they said it would be so much easier to come in and bulldoze that particular area, but they don't want to disturb the fairies.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? That's just so gorgeous. I went searching for a fairy glade, a very famous fairy glade, when we were in Ireland with a friend of mine.
The friend Gail, that she used to travel with, and she keeps mentioning all the time. That's because we can't travel. We had 3 overseas holidays planned last year. COVID. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, and we went to this particular beautiful fairy glen. And I can't even remember where it was. It was either Scotland or no, it must have been Scotland. And
hi DJ.
we came to the car park, parked the car. There are more people around, and it was a matter of trying to find where this particular Fairy Glen and Stone Circle, this circle that people had created, was, and it had been particularly wet. We weren't dressed appropriately, as normally people from Australia who arrive in places like this aren't dressed. And we were slipping and sliding all over the hillside. No one would tell us where this place was. And we kind of came to the conclusion that, the fairies have sort of said, if you really want to find us, we're going to make you work for it. Because it was right at the top of this hill and around a corner. You couldn't see it from any direction. So all we were doing is following these trails in the mud.
Bit of a goat track.
And at one point I fell on my face completely from head to top, covered in mud. And my friend Gail laughed for about 10 minutes.
I never would have done that to you, would I?
No. She said this was slow motion. It was the most slowest motion fall you'd ever seen in your life. Said it was absolutely hysterical. And I was covered in mud. But we were so determined to find this place, and finally we did. And it was one of the most magical places I'd visited while I was away.
All right, let's get on to the next slide. We've got quite a few personal fairy stories.
So most of us think of fairies as tiny creatures flitting about on gossamer wings, waving a magic wand, but history and folklore tell a different tale. When belief in fairies was common, most people didn't like to mention them by name, and so referred to them by other names like little people or the hidden people. And I think this is where the stories of fairies that we tell our children aren't the same as the fairy stories of people who deal with fairies in their countries are. And maybe some people there might agree with the fact that fairies can be quite spiteful and very tricky, and sometimes a little bit malevolent. I think that's why people leave gifts for them, to appease them, make sure they look after us.
Yeah. So they don't bite the hand that feeds them, so to speak.
Yeah. So there are hundreds of different kinds of fairies. Some are minute creatures, others grotesque. Some can fly, and all can appear and disappear at will. Now, if you have had a connection with fairies, please, please, please put up a post in the comments and tell us what your connection with fairies is. Whether there might be a fairy ring or a place where fairies gather around where you live, or whether it is part of your cultural beliefs.
Tracy's just saying, looks like UK is going into another lockdown very soon, as they've got the African variant spreading like wildfire. And I think that was the one that was picked up here, wasn't it? And they're saying our vaccine won't work against it, so that's scary.
Oh, that's scary.
Oh, all right. Next page, sorry.
So the term fairy comes from the Latin fata and fatum, which means fate. So fairies were known as the fays.
Now, that photo that you've got there with the red circle around it, that means it's something paranormal, doesn't it?
Normally, yes.
Now, this is something that comes up on a lot of photographs when people are outside investigating, and they'll have these. I had this really bizarre one. I'll see if I can find it. And to me, it looked like a dragon's head that was coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only just realised in the last probably 18 months, it's actually a pair of wings that are very close to the lens. And quite often you'll get these little orby, or they look like little fairies on the screen, but it's just a flash bouncing off insects that are close to the camera.
And if you look very, very closely onto that picture, first of all, it looks like a bug, but then when you look more closely, you actually see that it looks like a fairy that's sitting on top of something, of the head of some sort of a bug or seed or something.
Okay, I'm just.
It's a gorgeous little picture.
Find this one. Yeah, here it is. I'll have to put it up to hopefully it will work. I'll have to jump out of this screen just for a second to go over here so we can see whether that will work or not. So can you see that at all? I'm just going to wait for the live feed to catch up. But it's a pair of wings, and it looked like it was Oh no, that's the time and the date. It looked like a dragon's head. Hang on, I'll remove this from there. There it is. See how it looks like it was a dragon's head coming down? In actual fact, it was a pair of wings that was really close in front of the camera. Anyway, just thought I'd chuck that in there. And we can go back to your fairies now.
Mm-hmm. So the strongest traditions of fairies have been found, in the British Isles and Europe.
Oh, I'm sure we're fond of them as well.
But fairy beliefs have also been found in Asia, America, and Africa. So almost all over the world. And we find this with many stories that we research. We kind of think that we've invented the wheel and they're only associated with the country we live in. But in many cases, you find that these particular stories and belief systems are found all over the world.
Next, you need to make a noise, so I need to go.
That's okay. Next.
Ding.
So Catherine Briggs wrote an encyclopedia of fairies. She was known as one of the greatest proponents of fairies and the stories of fairies, and she wrote this encyclopedia of hobgoblins, brownies, bogles, and other supernatural creatures. And it's still known as one of the most enormous pieces of work where information has been gathered into one spot. And she was really around at that time when this whole fairy thing blew up. And we're going to get to that story with the Cottingley fairies shortly in England. And everyone became fascinated with it. So fairies would often steal a baby and place a changeling fairy child in its place, often ugly and bad-tempered.
That explains a lot. I'm a changeling.
That's true.
Because I was adopted.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they've popped me into the nursery at the adoption centre. And, well, am I ugly and bad-tempered?
Yeah, you could say that. Maybe that might explain why it took 7 times or 8 times for your
the
DNA to come
work.
through.
Yes.
So going back to that other slide just for a moment. Just going back to the other slide. We all have stories, supernatural stories of changelings, and this is again part of that cultural stuff that seems to go all around the world and explains things. These beautiful stories explains or try and explain the weird and wonderful that happen in our world. And fairies will change babies, and often from the point of trying to not have this happen, new parents would call in priests and the local cunning women and men from their village to have protective symbols around cots.
Or get them baptised as soon as possible.
Yeah, so that this would not happen.
And there's actually birds that do this in real life, where they'll boot out the egg of the bird that's there and lay their egg in the nest, and then the other bird raises it. So, yeah.
So in Scotland and Ireland, Neolithic flint arrowheads were believed to be fairy weapons, and the water they were dipped in was said to cure many ills. Isn't that beautiful?
Hello, Three Beards. How are you guys? Hello, Craig.
So fairy rings are small dark green circles
Love them.
in grasses and meadows, and certain types of fungus would cause the discoloration. It is said that this is where fairies would dance. Isn't this a beautiful thing?
Yeah, we get the fairy ring in our park across the road from us where I live in Newcastle. And I used to love that as a child. But we found a fairy ring in Ireland in the little forest as we were walking up to the Montpellier Hill.
We took many photos.
What was the name of the
Hellfire Club?
Hellfire Club. We were walking up to the Hellfire Club, and we saw this little tunnel into this beautiful dark forest. And so we've sort of clambered up the embankment and gone through, and there was a fairy ring, and I'm going, will I step inside it? Will I? So I did. But I didn't realise you're supposed to go around it 9 times before you step into the circle. And that's when you may be transported.
Wow.
Yep. Okay. I was set to get the drinking game on, but don't think Renata is storming off the set tonight.
No.
No, we're using her laptop. It's much. My new one arrived apparently yesterday, so Roman set it up for me, and I'll be ready to use it next week.
So there are different types of fairy rings. We do sort of associate fairy rings with mushrooms and things growing in a circular pattern, which is weird anyway. I mean, it is a little bit weird.
Well, if you think about what happens is the mushroom drops spore, and it's going to drop spore out in a circle because it is circular. So it sort of comes out in a ring. So that's why you end up with a ring.
But there are also discolorations that you can get in grasses or in fields. And again, it's the fungus that makes the discoloration. So these, what you're seeing here, are also known as fairy rings.
Oh.
So the living testimony of fairies by Wentz correlated the various theories of fairy life with the ghosts and spirits of psychical phenomena. So this is where there is this integration and these things start to mingle. And of course, the Celtic countries have so many supernatural and supernatural phenomena, which they so believe in because it is so ingrained in their faith and belief system, and the superstitions around them. That it becomes very, very intriguing, and as part of paranormal investigators, it's worth looking at what the beliefs are in certain villages, countries, and families to see how that exhibits itself in the real world when you're coming up to psychic phenomena.
Mohammed Cade, I'm sorry you've been having a rough time. We're going to do some readings once we finish this. So Renata might be able to pull a card for you and give you some insight. But if I were you, I would start putting some really positive thoughts. You can look for the good things that are happening around you, because there's always some good things. But when we're really down, sometimes all we see are the bad things. So a good thing right now is that you happen to be online and you happen to be seeing us. And yeah, so we're giving you some information which hopefully might lift you up a bit, but we'll pull a card for you hopefully and can give you some advice or some insight. So sorry, I just wanted to address you because I could see you were having a bit of a rough time there.
So I thought I would post some books. So if anybody is interested in more information about fairies, you can go and find these books online.
Because we are not fairy experts. Yeah. All we've done is researched a topic, which then we learn ourselves, which is why we love doing the ABC of Paranormal. But this one's been working her freckle off. She runs with the topic. She's even got next week's done and dusted.
Next week's done, and anyway, it's an awesome one.
We'll keep going on this one because we've got a few slides to go.
Yeah, so you can go back through this particular presentation and find these books and go and purchase them.
I'd like to learn more about it, particularly with the psychical references. That's really cool.
So Camille Flammarion suggested that either we produce these phenomena or it is spirits, but mark this well, these spirits are not necessarily the ghosts of the dead. For other kinds of spiritual beings may exist, and space might be full of them without us ever knowing anything about it. So these things could be happening all around us right now, but because our human eyes aren't seeing them or are not open to these experiences, we kind of go, well, it's not really happening because I can't see it.
And I just have to also tell you that I'm a little bit amused that we've ended up presenting this topic here up in the Blue Mountains in the Katoomba area, because when I was little, my grandparents would bring me up to the Blue Mountains for a holiday. We'd do it 2 times a year and we'd spend a week up in the mountains. And they always used to take me to the Katoomba Falls or the Lura Cascades, and they would say, this is where the fairies live. So you've got to look around and see if you can find where the fairies are. And I would spend my days and time here in the Blue Mountains looking for the fairies. Isn't that so cool? I love the coinky dink that happens with that.
So belief in fairies has not completely died out. As recently as 1962, a Somerset farmer's wife told how she had lost her way in the Berkshire Downs and was put on the right track by a small man in green who appeared suddenly at her elbow and then disappeared. That's interesting. So I was trying to look for more recent news articles that would talk about this whole fairy thing, and that's where I found this interview with this farmer.
Did you have anything on Erwin Saunders?
No.
Okay, Erwin Saunders is someone who's fairly newish, and has been posting things on YouTube. So look him up. He's an older gentleman, looks a little bit like Santa, is quite a bit of a character, and he goes and sits in the forest around his home with cameras set up and said, I'll call them out. And then he'll say, oh, one's just appeared up there. So if you look over my shoulder up there, you're going to be able to see that up there now. Or he'll say, it's over there or something. And you look, and this little creature pops up and sort of puts its head up, has a look, and pops and scurries back down off into the bush.
I've seen that one.
Now,
it's incredible.
People are saying it's photoshopped. I don't know. He doesn't look like the type of person that had the capability of doing that, but he's got the capability of going out into the forest and filming this stuff and uploading it onto YouTube. So he does have some skills. But check him out. I will put his name up into the feed so you can have a look for yourself and see what you think.
Yeah, that's I have seen that one. It's very, very intriguing. So this is another story. A woman on holiday in Cornwall with her daughter came across a small green man with pointed hood and ears. They were so alarmed they ran for the fairy, cold with terror. Another eyewitness account in the 20th century. So do we believe in fairies? Give us a yes if you do believe in fairies.
I don't know enough about them to be able to make a decision, nor have I really looked into it a great deal. It's one of those things that you would like to believe in because it's just such an amazing topic. I'm just getting some comments here. Hi from Jason from Maryland. Steve from SGH, Steve Ghost Hunters. Hope we are well and stay safe. Thank you. Same to you. And thanks for coming on to our show. If anyone could share our show to their pages now, we would really appreciate that. And we're giving a bit of a push out today. If you could go over to our YouTube channel, Anne and Renata, and subscribe and hit the bell so you get those reminders, we would really appreciate that. So I've just put that up there.
So we've got a few people who are saying they believe.
Yes, Inanna says yes. Mohammed Kate said, I believe. Sorry? Oops.
Yep, sorry.
I believe in spirit and mermaids, Becca. Three Beards, yes. Margie says hi. Tracy said, thank you so much for joining, and I have pre-approved and lives accepted. You can post. You don't have to wait to be accepted. Let me know the name of that page so we all, Christy's probably worked that out for us. We go to the next one?
Yep. So about 20 years ago, a reporter on Irish radio interviewed a woman in the wet of Ireland who was infested with fairies after cutting down a fairy thorn bush.
There you go.
So thorn bushes are believed to be cherished by fairies and are still often left undisturbed in Irish fields.
There you go. And when we went to Ireland 2 years ago, we actually took our cluties and we tied them onto some of these fairy trees.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, with wishes. And one of them I tied on for my little cousin who had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she is just yesterday announced that she's now completely in remission and it's gone. So, thank you, fairies.
So this is, again, a photograph that I took online from a gentleman who was saying that he had taken photographs of fairies. And, of course, on the right-hand side is the photographs that he had taken.
And in Australia, we call them mosquitoes.
So The Real World of Fairies, 1977, is a privileged glimpse into a joyous and animated universe. Dora's enchanted vision of her encounters with the fairy realm delights the child in us, while it excites our grown-up imagination. It rekindles our creative energy and deepens our sense of connection with nature. This new edition features a foreword by Celtic folk expert Caitlin Matthews. Caitlin's personal experiences and deep knowledge of the fairy world resonate brilliantly with Dora's, adding a fresh perspective for contemporary readers. So this is just an example of the books that still come out and talk about this world of fairies. Now, who has heard of the Cottingley fairies? Because this is a topic we're going to just talk about just very, very briefly. And this is sort of at a time when all of this exploded big time. So this is early 1900s. 1917, Elsie Wright and Frances Griffiths, two girls aged 16 and 10 in the village of Cottingley in England, claimed they saw fairies and borrowed a camera and took photos. So there are many, many stories about the Cottingley fairies, and they took two photographs which they put up, and a very famous person who was quite into the world of spiritualism took a big fancy to this. Now, this particular person desperately wanted spiritualism to be something that went all around the world. He spent his last years actually going all around the world as a speaker for spiritualism. And
now, guys, just a quick thing. We have to be out just a little bit early today because they very kindly at Lura House allowed us to stay past checkout time to get this live done. So we will have to power through.
This particular person was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who you would know from his Sherlock Holmes novels, and he went deeply into this whole story of the Cottingley fairies and the girls who created this. A storm of media came to the girls, and for many, many years they had to try and tell everyone that, you know, they really believed that the photographs that they took were true. They were given proper cameras, and we sort of say proper cameras of that time, to take more photographs, which they did. And they still kind of said for many, many years that everything was true. Then they confessed, and they actually told people that they had cut out the fairies from a children's book and placed them into the bottom of the garden, literally, and taken photographs, and that they were not real.
But they claimed that one of the photos was a real photo.
One of the photos, the last photo that they took, which kind of no one saw until later, they said that that was real. And so this is a snippet from the newspapers about the Cottingley fairies. Recently, they took a camera and photographed the fairies. The developed negative certainly showed white figures in the woods, and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is enthusiastic over the vindication of the spirit world.
We've only got 4 more slides.
Yep, the photos went viral and caught the attention of Arthur Conan Doyle, as I said, who wrote a book called The Coming of the Fairies.
So the problem with Arthur Conan Doyle is that he wanted to confirm his beliefs. He wanted proof of his bias. So he just he wanted this to be real so much. And I mean, that happens to all of us. We want it to be real, that we'll grab onto anything and go, there's proof.
And then he had a very good friend, Harry Houdini, who he fought with forever and ever, because Harry Houdini also had biases, and his bias was, it's not true.
It's not true.
So they went
equally as bad.
Yeah, they went head to head to try and claim that their particular perspective was right. So in 1927, the Fairy Investigation Society was formed. Yes, it's real, in Britain, to collate information on fairy sightings in modern times. The Fairy Investigation Society has over 400 members, tied together by a common interest in fairy lore and folklore, and it does exist. There is a Facebook page, and you can join the society, and they have workshops.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
A fairy census was compiled from 2014 and
A fairy
2017.
census?
And there are 403 pages of stories of sightings. There you go.
That's so cool.
And this is a congress, the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, and they have a meeting. There's supposed to be one which you can still get to in 2021, July 22nd to 26th, near Salem.
Oh.
And you can go and be with like-minded people who also believe in fairies and the spirit people.
Yeah, we found out there's 2 Salems in America, maybe more.
And and go and be part of the Congress, which I thought was fascinating.
We booked accommodation near the wrong one. Anyway. Oh, wow.
And this is just part of what the whole Congress was about. So they have speakers. It tells you what happens in the Congress. The Fairy Congress has proven to be a vanguard event for bridging the dimensions. We are mainly an educational event. However, in the fairy spirit, we also have lots of fun with music, dancing, singing, and colourful costume parade. So they have meditations and ceremonies, and the whole idea is that they create a space and a time when people can come together and read, be with people who believe in this, and shine a light on the fairy realm.
And I think
that's it.
That's it. We're going backwards now. All right, so I'm just going to pop over to here. I'm going to remove that and put us back up to the full screen so we can see what's happening. Awesome. Now, Mohammed, I'd like you to ask a question that you would like from Renata from her tarot card. So have a think about what specifically you would like some insight in on what's happening around you. And Charmaine said, great information, ladies. Thank you so much. Keep safe. Thank you. Thank you. Please join us, as I said, on our YouTube page. We're trying to build our numbers on there. We would love that. It would be a gift to us if you could do that. It will cost you nothing but a little bit of your time. And then we can annoy you there.
So I'm just giving my tarot cards a shuffle.
Anyone's got a question for Renata on the tarot cards? This is your chance. We ask for no super personal relationship questions like, should I leave my wife, or is my husband cheating on me, or things like that. Tracy said, thank you so much. And I thank you, Renata, as well. And nothing about health questions like, is my cancer going to be cured, or anything like that. Next week, we're on to G, I believe.
Yes. And we have another fascinating and amazing subject. You'll find out about that shortly.
I was amazed when she told me what this topic was. I've gone, what the hell?
So what we are trying to do is dig beyond what people might normally talk about when it comes to these things, and look at something maybe a little bit more quirky or a little bit more interesting.
I'm disappearing down in the lounge here. I'm getting lower and lower. All right, so
Becca wants a card for a Tuesday. Okay, and your card is the Fool card here. So the Fool card is about stepping onto a new pathway, stepping onto a new journey, or accepting it as a time and a place, Becca, where you have to really stretch yourself and have faith that you are at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And so it may not show itself or make sense right now, but it will down the track. So when we look at things backwards, we understand exactly why we are where we are. When we're in it, we normally don't. But you're right where you need to be.
Misty wants to know, will I move house in the future?
Okay, Misty, let's see what the cards have to say for you. And Misty, you have the Seven of Swords. So my suggestion at the moment is stay exactly where you are until financially you are in the right place. The Seven of Swords will say to you, let me say that, will say to you that moving house may not be the thing that solves the problems. Okay, it may be one part of a long journey for solving issues and problems for you, but it may not be the right thing that is solving the major problem for you right now. You have to look beyond that and see for yourself, thinking about it differently, what you could do beforehand to help and assist. You might not have to change house.
And Becca said, great, pulled the full card for her. She has a new job starting soon.
Excellent.
Perfect. Inanna, who is one of our regulars, I seem to not even be able to make a baby step forward. Will this change? Love you, ladies. You keep me going. Oh, thank you.
Now, Inanna, you may think you're not making steps, and this is what I say all the time. We think we're not making steps, but we truly are. It's just that from a day-to-day perspective, it doesn't look like much, but when you gather it all together and stick it all together in a big blob, it is a lot over time. It's just that you have to, again, work. And you know what? Sometimes you don't have to do anything at all. And that's because I've just seen this card, which I'll show you in a minute. Sometimes you have to physically not do anything, but it's the mental work that needs to be done. So this Knight of Wands, is about taking charge of your mindset and becoming passionate about what change you want to have happen in your life. So even though it is a Wands card and it is about action, the action that's required at the moment is mindset action. And I know I spend every single day looking at something, reading something, or listening to something that is positive, because otherwise I'll go down a rabbit hole very, very quickly. And so looking at things that prop you up in a positive way, whether that be someone that you really enjoy listening to. We've got a few people that we enjoy listening to all the time on YouTube. Go to their sites, listen to some uplifting stuff, and you know what? That's change.
We were watching Aussie Man reviews the other night on animals that poop on humans, and we laughed so hard that I nearly vomited. I actually started to gag because I was laughing that hard. So find some cute, funny things to watch and bring laughter and knowledge into your life. Our YouTube channel is called Anne, A-N-N-E, and A-N-D, Renata, R-E-N-A-T-A. Thank you, Tracy. I'm just going to jump to Muhammad because I know he's been having a rough time. And he was saying that he didn't have, his father wasn't kind to him. And I think it's Father's Day over there. So yes. I think this may be where the anguish is coming from. So his father is in spirit.
Muhammad, you might find that your father is thinking very, very differently about how he was while he was on this earth, and there could be a deal of remorse or regret with regard to that.
Yeah, Renata is a medium as well, so
judgment. Okay, right, of course, and that literally did come off the card, come off the top. And this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, Muhammad, that he is very remorseful of some of the way that he may have been as a father or a person in general while he was alive. He may not have known any different. This is the way he reacted to the things that were happening to him. And you know what? Instead of asking him to come forward and to speak to you right now, the one thing that you might be able to give him is release and say, you know what? I am the man I am because of the things that happened. I am still learning in this world, and I want you to learn in the afterlife. So I give you permission, and I let go of all the things that you believe that you did not do for me. And I'm going to let go of all the things that I believe you did do to me that made my life upsetting. And so, you know what? Be sorry for yourself and be sorry for your father, and then allow it to rest, because he may feel that he needs a gentler place to be with you, which he can be right now, but he has regrets and you have regrets, and that is what is stopping the communication to come through.
That's awesome, Renata. Tracy, who has been so active and helpful on today's show, will I get the adaptations to my house that I need doing?
Ooh, okay, Tracy. Let's have a look. And the Three of Wands. This is an interesting one because what you need to do is you need to ask different people than you are at this particular point in time for help and assistance. You may be someone who loves to try and handle everything yourself and kind of go, I'm going to be stoic and I'm going to be tough and I'm going to find the people, or I'm going to find the resources, or I'm going to do what needs to be done here because I'm this type of a person. But you may actually have to ask for help and lower your expectations. And it's not a self-esteem thing. It's not making you any less of a person, Tracy, if you really reach out for help from others. But this is about going in a bit of a different direction. It's also about letting go of certain things that you might find that you are still continuing to think about or feel that is a requirement in your life or a way of being. And that needs to go before you can get what you want for your house.
He said, there is more to what my dad did to us all, and I will never forget or forgive. Thanks.
No, look, this isn't about forgetting or forgiving.
No.
All of us have had, well, not all of us, but many of us have had things that have happened to us, Muhammad, that are dreadful, absolutely dreadful. But there are two choices. You can live with this and continue to breed that horrid and awful thing in your mind that happened and never forget and never forgive, but you will live under that shadow, and that shadow will rule you for the rest of your life, and your life will be a misery. Now, whatever happened many years ago. It's not happening right now, but for you in your mind it is. You are continuing to have this come over you every single breathing moment of your life. So therefore, your father continues to do this, even though he is no longer alive. My wish for you is that you push it to the side and you make the rest of your life and the years that you have the best that they can be in spite of what has happened. So the forgiveness is about the forgiveness that you give to yourself for keeping this going so long, and that it leads you in the direction through your life that you are in right now. And remember, Muhammad, the way you are impacts your family and everyone around you. So remember that that energy can either keep growing and be passed on from generation to generation, or it can stop with you right now. And you can say, from this moment on, in spite of everything that I went through, I am going to be the best person that I can be, and move that into a corner of my brain that I will not go to anymore, because there are more beautiful things in life for me to think about and to do. And that needs to go and be hidden somewhere in a deep, dark corner. I will not forget it. I will not forgive it, but I need to move on and go past it.
And can I just say that you just happened to be on an Australian show at 1 a.m. in the morning to receive this message. So the universe is trying to help you.
They're trying to get to you in some way, Muhammad.
They're trying to get you to start your healing journey. So I wish you all the best and love on this journey. And I hope to hear from you in the near future to let us know how you are doing and what wonderful things you are bringing into your life that bring you joy, despite everything that went before.
Yeah.
My beautiful people, we are going to have to go. We have to. Thank you for that. I'm glad you heard our words.
Do it for your soul, Muhammad.
Do
it for your family.
For all of you who
do
have
it for your
trauma.
People. Yeah, it's not about forgiving and forgetting.
No,
some of us.
I will never forgive some people.
Yeah, some of us will never forgive, but we can wear that scar like armor and never let anything else into our hearts and our minds and our souls. And that just keeps that pain going. And it's not fair. It's not fair to you. You deserve happiness.
And look at all these beautiful people who are coming on and also singing the song of joy for you as well. Many blessings to you all. We have to run because we've got to pack up and get out of this room by 11.
And we're going to go have breakfast.
Yeah, we're going to have breakfast My tummy's rumbling. We need good coffee. We will be back on again on Thursday. We have 2 new announcements coming up before much longer. So stay with us, and thank you for being here today.
Have a joyous night, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day on this side of the world, and it worked.
Yay! Bye.